So in this video I'm going to show you how to recreate this really sweet 3D phone animation in Blender, which also includes this really good looking notification pop-up effect as well. Now I'm sure you've seen this kind of 3D object animations in many other videos, but let me tell you one thing. It's not that hard to recreate these kind of 3D scene animations. So if you're looking for the files that I've used in this video, you'll find them in the description below. With all this said, let's hop on to creating this really cool animation. So first of all, we're hopping into After Effects to create the screen of the phone. So getting into a new composition, gonna import the files that I've given you in the description below, pressing Command I, and you're gonna just choose the assets. Import the iPhone screenshot PNG. As you can see here, make the composition 1170 weight and 2532 height. So this is the resolution an iPhone screen has. And for now, you can just delete the screenshot. It was just for reference to see how tall and wide the composition has to be. Next, we're gonna import this file named notification sample, just simply dragging it into the composition, going down to align. So if you don't have this window, you just go to window and check this called align. So now what we are going to do is create our own notification, pressing Q and bringing out a rectangle by pressing left click, holding it and dragging it as wide and as tall the notification is in the sample image. We can bring it to the middle by holding Command and left click on the layer, or by holding Alt on Windows. Just right click, transform and center anchor point in layer content, so the anchor point in the shape layer is centered. Now what we're gonna do is, as you see in the sample, the edges around it. So I'm getting here to rectangle path and getting its roundness to around 45. Next we have to import the icons, so pressing again Command Y or Alt Y in Windows, and it's gonna import the logo stripe, drag it to the composition, pressing Command so the logo is centered on the shape layer. So I'm grabbing this part and holding now Shift, we're gonna scale down the logo. As you can see in the reference image, the logo has rounded corners, but no problem. We're gonna just press Command Shift C, Alt Shift C on Windows, double click on this composition, press Q and double click on this, so we create a rectangle as wide and as tall as the composition is. Choosing the fill option to solid color, if you don't have that already, going again to rectangle path, let's get its roundness to 50. Now we're gonna mask the image with the shape layer. So this is how it goes. The logo has rounded corners. Now what we have to do is create the text. So I'm gonna just write stripe, choose a dark color, but to be honest, I wouldn't go with black at all. I chose something more grayish. Now this text from the notification, something like you received $2,000 from John. I'm gonna choose the font's width or style to light. So the application name will be bold and the text will be light. I'm gonna make its size 60. Now we're gonna just have to write this now, so the time when you got the notification, we got it now. Once we're done, you can delete this sample image. I'm gonna press again shape layer. So what I did is got a radial gradient. You can just go to fill, choose this option, go to OK, press again here. I go with white on both sides, but on one side the opacity will be 100% and on the other it will be 62. You can drag around how you want the gradient to be played. Now hold left click, select everything, Command Shift C to create the composition, open the composition. Now press Command K and adjust the composition's height so it will be similar to how big the notification is. Okay, press Command Alt Y or Alt Control Y on Windows. Go to Effects and Presets, type Venetian Blinds. What this effect is gonna do is it's gonna give it a grid effect like you see on screen. It's kind of pixelated. I'm gonna go with 10% transition completion and 3% width. If you zoom in, you can see the difference. So it's like a screen. So now we have the notification done. We'll have to render it, but first of all, hit Command K and get its duration to around 8 seconds long. If you experience this kind of errors that you can make this composition longer, you simply have to do this again because it's another composition and its length is fixed. So again, Command K or Alt K Windows, duration get it to 800. Make these layers longer, can make it longer as well. Now what you're gonna have to do is go to File, Export, Auto Render Queue, and here you're gonna choose an option which won't make our background black as you can see, but it will make this transparent. So you're gonna hit this, get the format to QuickTime, choose the channel from RGB to RGB plus alpha. I chose this Apple ProRes 444 because its rendering quality is lossless, so the quality will be really good. I'm gonna choose the output where we're gonna render the file. I'm gonna name it as notification and get it to render. Cool, we have it done. Next thing we're gonna do is create the b-roll that we have on the phone screen. So I imported two videos from my own. I'm gonna make sure the first video is 4 seconds long and the other is 4 seconds long as well. As you can see, the scaling isn't the same. So what I'm gonna do is scale it perfectly, but also make sure it fills the whole composition. So I'm holding this, pressing now shift, and I'm scaling this image video equally. So I'm gonna do the same as I did with the notifications. I'm gonna hit Command Option Y or Control Alt Y on Windows. I'm gonna import again Venetian blinds to adjustment layer. Here's transition completion to 10%, its width to 3. So we're gonna give it this grid effect. I'm gonna uncheck the visibility of the notification. And now we have basically the video that will appear on the phone screen. So again, I'm gonna go to File, Export, Add Render Queue. By the way, you can create a preset with these settings by going to this arrow and make a template. You just simply go to Edit, go choose this QuickTime, RGB plus alpha, millions of colors, whatever options you want to, and you can make a preset. So you won't have to do the same process again and again. Choosing the output, I'm gonna name it iPhone screen. I'm gonna render it. And now hopping to Blender. I'm gonna choose a general new file, click on the cube and delete it because we don't need that. What I'm gonna do now is go to Finder/File Explorer and import the asset that I've left you in the description. As you can see, the phone is too big, so you don't know what to do in Blender. First of all, if you have a magic mouse, you can move around the camera by just moving your finger on the mouse, or you can just hold this and move around. As you can see, this is your anchor point, this is your reference point from where you're gonna rotate or move your camera. If you're holding Command and scrolling, you can get further or closer to your anchor point. By holding Shift and scrolling, you can move around your anchor point. Now, what you're gonna do is have this selected, press S and scale down your phone. Move closer by holding again Command, scrolling. And now you have your phone, but its texture is a bit weird, right? It's because as in After Effects, you can get its resolution to be quarter, half or full. So I'm gonna check this and get the view to be normal. So it's fully loaded. I'm gonna make the phone a bit smaller. You want to move the phone around. What you're gonna do is select the phone. I'm gonna press Shift space G and you can move it around by holding these arrows and getting it wherever you want. You can also press Shift space and hit R to rotate the phone. We'll use this later on when I'm gonna animate the phone. But make sure whenever you want to move or rotate the phone, make sure it's selected. So I have the phone, but it looks a bit dark, right? It's because the light isn't around the phone. So what I'm gonna do is hit the light, Shift space, press G, and move the light around the phone. Next, we're gonna import the screen and the notification. So I'm gonna go to Add, Image, Mesh Plane, and I'm gonna select the file. So I have the iPhone screen imported. What I'm gonna do is just delete this. I'm gonna hit on the screen of the phone. I'm gonna go to this section which is called Material. I'm just gonna hit iPhone screen. It appears on the phone. So I'm gonna hit again the screen, go to Metallic, get the value to 1. I'm gonna play a bit around with the light again so the screen will be more visible. Something like this. And also you can see that there's a kind of light going like this around the phone. Basically like a reflection. What I did was go to Add Light Area, and this is basically kind of light. You can imagine it as a light bulb, but in the form of rectangle. So I move this close to the phone. I'm gonna press Shift space R. I'm gonna rotate this and also pressing Ctrl for more fixed rotation. Next, I'm gonna go to Transform and get its scale to something similar like this, and also its rotation to something like this. Again, Shift space G, moving it a bit further away. Also gonna import the notification. So going again to Add, Image, Mesh Plane, Stripe Notification. It's imported. Shift space R, holding also Control, I think it's also Control on Windows, Shift space G to move it, moving it to where usually notifications appear on the phone. Give it a 3D effect by making it bigger than the phone, making your animation bigger than the phone. What I'm gonna do next is get the Stripe notification, press Shift and link it to the phone. And I'm going to do the same as well with this area called Light. Pressing Shift, holding and dropping it to the phone. So if you move the phone, both elements move in the same way. Let's animate the notification. I'm going to select the notification, go to Transform and Animating something is the same as in Premiere Pro or After Effects. You have here a timeline. I'm gonna go a bit further away, around 90 frames. I'm gonna select all these, and they work pretty the same as keyframes, because they are basically keyframes. So going back to the beginning, getting the scale to 0, and also moving the height of the notification a bit lower. But as you can see, you don't have a graph to easy ease the animation or something. So what you're gonna have to do is go to here and press Graph Editor. Make sure you zoom out by holding Command and scrolling, so you see entirely the timeline. You select this part, you move it to the left side, and now you hit Control for them to be in the same position. As you can see, the notification is popping out, but it doesn't seem that clear. It's a bit too wide. So I'm going to Material and getting its metallic value to 1 as well. And also its roughness to 0.74, something similar. Alright, now if you want to do an animation in Blender, you need to know that you have a camera. So I'm selecting the camera, but as you can see, its view is going from that side. But I want it to see it from here. So I'm placing my view as I would like to. I'm going to hit View, Line View, and check this Align Active Camera to View. So by holding Command and scrolling, you can see outside the camera view. By holding Shift, you can move around the camera view. And the camera has the same transform properties as any other object. So I'm getting its rotation X to 90, Z to 180, and this Y to 0. And get, if you have quaternion checked, I would rather switch to XYZ Euler. Play a bit with how the camera is positioned and where it is, and make sure you create a keyframe on each position, because if not, the camera won't stay on the same place. And as you can see, if you go to render, if you go to output, you can see what the frame rate is on your composition. We can go to frame 240, which is already 10 seconds long, while our video is 8 seconds long. But here's the catch. Sometimes Blender's files get bugged and they get 2 times slower than they usually are. So what I'm gonna do, and what you have to do in your position, is calculate the length of your animation and multiply it by 2. So I'm gonna go to 480. You can just get a big value and see where the video stops playing. I'm gonna go with 480 because, as you can see, my fingers will stop moving at this point. Now let's just play with how the phone is positioned, it's rotated, and give it a bit of an animation. I'm gonna place the base keyframes here. I'm gonna just go with these values and play around. So I'm just dragging this value up and down, and also holding Shift for a more precise positioning. So as you can see, I'm dragging this value up and down without holding Shift, and now with Shift it's moving smoother. So I'm gonna get it down, its rotation to something like this. We can hold Command, scroll out, and see how the phone is placed. As you can see, basically outside the camera view. I'm gonna create keyframes for these values. I'm gonna, again, this timeline is zoomed out. I'm gonna select this part, drag it to left, and don't worry. I know the animation seems pretty slow to you, but remember, when you'll get this animation to After Effects, it will be 2 times faster than you see it now. I'm gonna get to the stripe notification and move its values a bit further, since the animation won't be really visible. So you may wonder if there are null objects in Blender. Yes, there are. I'm going to get to add volume and empty. I'm gonna drag the phone, I'll link it to this empty, so whenever I move the empty, the phone moves as well. I'm gonna place a keyframe around this value. I'm gonna go to the end, move the phone closer, and play a bit with the values again. I can also select these values, right click, and go to Easy Ease, but I usually get these values to the left. I forgot one thing. It didn't move around this area light. So let's animate this. First I'm gonna hit a base position for when the phone comes out. I'm gonna move again the position when the phone gets closer. So I'm getting to around this frame. I just dragged the camera and got off the camera view. I'm gonna move its position like this, create keyframes. Again, same thing. As you can see, the light is coming up. Now I'll get it a bit to this side. Make sure it won't mess up with your notification. Back to view. It looks really awesome how the light plays around the phone. I love how this looks like. You may wonder how to render this animation. First, you have to go to this 2-page icon, hit new, and just type video edit. Gonna get to this plus, go to video editing and choose video editing. This is basically a timeline as you have in Premiere Pro. Nothing really difficult if you're familiar with it. Just gonna press Shift plus A, go to scene, check scene or however you named your animation, and you can see now the wireframe of the objects and how they go around. You get to the end of the animation, and if you can remember, I wrote 480 frames length for animation. That's where it ends. So the frame start is where your animation starts playing, and the end is where it ends. Make sure the frame rate is the same. And now you may think, okay, I'm gonna just import this animation and that's it. But no, we have one more thing to do. I'm gonna go to render. I'm gonna make sure our background is transparent. I'm gonna get the film, I'm gonna check this transparent. But that's not all. As in After Effects, you have to make your composition transparent as well. So getting back to layout, choosing our scene, going to render as well on this way, film, transparent. And once you see this grid, you're sure your background is transparent. So back to video editing, switching your scene to video edit. And now the last thing you have to do is choose your trajectory. So where you want your animation to be saved. I'm gonna get to render animation. Now we just wait for it. Alright, our animation is done. Moving back to After Effects, going to project, Command Y or Alt Y, importing our folder with the animation and selecting from the last to the first. By pressing the last, pressing shift and going to the first and importing it to our composition, so there will be a place from the first to the last in order. Getting their length to one frame or as small as they can be. As you can see, the resolution of our images isn't the same as the compositions. So we're gonna get to Command K, changing the values of our width to 1920 to 1080 height, or the same resolution as our animation was rendered in, hitting OK. Deleting our adjustment layer with the videos and the notification composition, selecting from the first to the last image by holding shift and selecting everything, right click, go to keyframe assist and sequence layers, hit OK, press Command Shift C to make a composition, and let's see how this rolls out to be. Let me make the resolution to full, looks clean, looks awesome. $2,000 from John. Our video is playing. So as we've rendered, our background is transparent. So the last thing we have to do is right click, new, solid, and choose whatever color you want it to be. I'm gonna go with black, hit OK. And as you can see, such a cool animation that you can apply to every project if you want to show some vertical B-roll in a special way. And if you want to see more of this, keep an eye on my channel, since soon I'll be launching my free school community where we'll do some awesome things together. For now, thanks for all the support I've got on my last video. It feels really good seeing people learning new things from my tutorials and seeing all the feedback I've got recently. It will be a crazy journey. I'm so excited for the future. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.